John, I'm really pleased to be here today. I mean, obviously, I have been here before. The conditions, I'm sure, have not changed and probably gotten worse. The idea of having this on TV has been talked about before and talked about by many, and I really think it's a good idea that we're finally doing it. So I'm going to kind of lay back today. I can be talkative, but I'm not going to be asking you a lot of questions. I'm going to kind of listen so that the facts are the facts. We won't try to have this as, you know, trying to sell people something. This will really be informational. We'll really put ourselves in the place what it would be like to work in this place. And I've got claustrophobia, so I'm not going to be happy in there anyway. So, you ready?
Well, thank you for taking the time, and let's take the tour.
All right. Yep.
Jeff, this is the lobby area of the police station. This is the first impression the public has coming to our police station. And as you can feel, there's no climate control here at all. There's no air conditioning. There's very, very little heat in the winter. It's very, very stuffy, and people have to sit here on this bench when they're waiting for service from the police department. And more often than not, they'll step outside because it's more comfortable than it is to, to stay in here. It's very cramped, very impersonal. Dealing with the dispatch or dealing with any police-related matters. So this is the first indication of deficiencies. The other thing that goes on in this particular area is if there's any custodies, if there's anybody that's taken into custody for any reason, anybody that's here waiting for civilian services are displaced. They have to step outside. And
So in other words, if you're bringing a prisoner in here, and especially if anyone is sitting there, I mean, there's not even enough room for two people to really get through the door and get through that door. This is tough.
Yeah, so we actually have to lead a person who, they're not always being very cordial either. Sometimes they're not happy to be here, and they're not being very cooperative. We have to lead them through these glass double doors into this tight area with all these sharp edges and all this tight quarters. Again, displacing anybody that's waiting for any other services, and they'll come through this lobby and through this gray door, which we'll enter in a few minutes. But this is just the first line.
So it's certainly a liability to someone sitting here. It's a liability to the prisoner, and obviously it's a liability to you guys.
Yep, and ultimately a liability to the town. The other thing too is it's concerning that anybody taken into custody, they're not guilty. They're just charged with something. And it's very private. It should be a very private and personal.
Yeah, so they get seen from out there all the way, because the car can't drive in anywhere.
Right, there's no sally port. This is the entry, and now they are right up front. They are, they are led in full view of everybody in handcuffs.
Right across from the bank and the whole 5 yards, town hall.
Yeah, and that's not right. I mean, God forbid if a family member of mine ever had got into some trouble, to have them paraded through, that'd be very, very concerning for me. I mean, I just people make mistakes. People they have issues that have to be dealt with. You don't have to add to the embarrassment, by having that public display.
And like you said, they're innocent until proven guilty.
Exactly,
so
exactly.
Tough.
So that's another major issue here. All right, Jeff, we're going to walk into the first area of the hallway that you'd walk into the station.
Tell me that's not asbestos.
That I don't know. Come on in. So this area right here. This area in here, this is the only conference area that's available to the officers. If they have to have a conversation with somebody.
This is where Patty for gun licenses and things, right?
Yeah, that's where the gun licenses are processed. And if there's any other issues where somebody would want to talk to an officer privately about anything, this is the only real area that's afforded to them.
And that's open to dispatch and
that's the unfortunate part.
People walking through.
Anybody walking through to any other areas of the station have to come through here. So it makes it a little bit difficult. But this is also where...
So the conference room is in the middle of your operation.
Absolutely. And it's disruptive. I mean, there's other areas I could show you, but it's kind of, it's uncomfortable. We can have somebody come into the booking area to have a conversation, but you don't want to be in a booking area having a conversation. This here is where somebody in custody would be led in for the booking process. This used to be a cell. It's no longer a cell anymore. It's actually the booking area with the breathalyzer, all the booking computer issues, the rings on the wall to hold people temporarily
Now-
while they're being processed. But this, again, used to be a jail cell. But
Now, this is where my claustrophobia would kick in.
you know,
I'd be getting booked and I'd get claustrophobia at the same time.
yeah, or if you want to have a private conversation, this might be where you're having it.
Yep.
You know, because there's no place else available.
So I can almost go like this and touch both walls.
Yep,
That's wild.
yep. So this is
That's wild.
That's where our booking area is. Over here, Jeff. Somebody being processed. This is where the fingerprinting is being done. Again,
Yep.
in the general
Yep.
area of where everyone has access. It's just this is where all that happens. This used to be the female juvenile cell, as you can see on the door. It has the sign labeling that, and you also can see that it's out of service. It's been out of compliance for so long
Yep.
that we had to shut it down. And because we have absolutely no storage, this is what it's turned into. This is kind of embarrassing, and I'm sorry to show that to you, but we've organized it as best as possible. But these are things we have to keep available, and we've turned our juvenile female cell into a closet.
Yeah.
Moving on to other areas, this used to be a cell. And we had no place to process, come right in. We had no place to process seized evidence,
Sure.
Personal property, and that sort of a thing. So we converted this cell. There used to be, as you can see, there used to be a big, the bar door right here, we cut it off, turned it into this processing area. It's functioning very well for us for that, but we've lost a holding facility. And there used to be a holding cell behind this door too, but now what we've had to do is convert that area to the secured property area to maintain the continuity of
I
evidence.
understand. So if stuff's really
Yeah,
important.
it's a pass key, it gets
Yep.
logged, and
Yep.
nobody can go through there.
And I think people have to understand, John, that we're seeing this at the best day. I mean, the sewage is behaving, the air conditioner happens to be running. I mean, this is best conditions.
Yeah, there actually, we'll get to that. There are some deficiencies that will be apparent, that are coming. It is a good day.
Yeah.
Is it the best day? Maybe, but at least it's a good day. We
Yeah.
do not have the sewage backup happening, and the air conditioning seems to be working,
Yeah.
and that sort of a thing. So we are fortunate for that. Now, so moving on from these areas, the only temporary holding facility we have.
So if it's a real dangerous guy,
Yeah, or
girl,
somebody
or
that we
someone,
have to hold
yeah.
it. It might be not even so much that it's a dangerous guy, just when we only have 2 patrols on and there's another call, if we have somebody in custody, we
Yep.
have to put them someplace.
Yep.
We can't have them sitting around. They're in custody. So this is the holding facility. This is the only functioning cell that we have right now. It is not in compliance in any stretch with state mandates. Unfortunately, it gets.
I'm going to sneak in there, Caleb. So in other words, like you said, if someone was really could get put in this, and we really don't know if they're innocent but they were in trouble enough to have to go into a holding cell, this is the real deal holding cell. This is
it.
This is.
And that might, that's a necessary evil to just the custody part. As far as innocence and guilt, it doesn't,
Yeah.
At this point, this might be a necessary evil of the process, but it's not in compliance.
So if someone got hurt in here, we'd be in real trouble, right?
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine we wouldn't be in a very good position.
Yep.
That's why it's constantly monitored. We have to tie up personnel to constantly monitor the person, on the cameras or whatever. And we try not to use this. This is like a last resort.
Yep.
Unfortunately, what ends up happening, unfortunate to the person in custody, is we have to take that person and transport them to Middleton Jail, to that holding facility, because we don't have a complying facility here, so we have to take one of the officers that's on duty off the street and send them off to Middleton, which is about an hour and a half round trip by the time that process is done, and hold the person in Middleton, just for the liability reasons.
So in other words, John, a person that might not, after all the due process went through, that person could have actually had to take a long trip because we couldn't hold him here long enough to go through due process, and he might have to go all the way down to Midland in a car.
Correct, and what that does, the impact that has on the citizenry that are paying the taxes to have police protection is their officer is now displaced out of the community for an hour and a half, for this task. And the other thing too is, as a personal aside to this too, is again, as I said out, when we were talking about the entryway to the lobby and the public display, if you have a family member or somebody that makes a mistake, not even a real, critical, just makes a mistake and ends up finding himself in this situation. Just imagine that person being put in a cruiser and brought to Middleton. That is not a pleasant experience, that process. This here is, you're in your community, your local police department, we take care of you, we interact, it's less intrusive.
Yep.
Middleton is, they're all business, and they need to be. And now this person, if there's a proper facility, this possible family member or acquaintance or friend is now being brought to that kind of facility because we cannot accommodate responsibly here.
I mean, I understand that totally. It's like the same thing. I would be happy if I had to go in an ambulance to look up and see our guys coming,
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's, so there's where the deficiency of the holding cells really is impactful to the community, as well as police operations.
Yep.
Jeff, I'm going to take you to the next area of our communications section of the department, and if you just walk through this way here.
Well,
and then,
so I noticed these are the cell keys.
Yep.
Are they old, or are they still, is that in use all over the place now?
No, this is old. I believe it was taken from the brig at the
Wow.
U.S. Navy barracks someplace. There's a long story that goes with this. That's where the doors are taken from.
Go ahead, you lead this time.
All right, well, this way right through here, this is the a little section, that's the mail room. This is where everyone has their mailbox, and these blue lockers are for the dispatchers.
Wow, yep.
And it's kind of like a little bit of a collect-all in here, but this is kind of,
if that's all you have, that's all you have.
That's what that's used for. To come in through here, this particular area right here is important because these radios and this whole desk area, because we are in the 10-mile radius of Seabrook, we have to have a plan that.
Is this your emergency kind of management?
The EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, and there's certain posts that have to be manned to accomplish certain tasks, during Seabrook emergencies. And this is the communications officer for Seabrook. He'd be stationed here. He's got all the radios and all the equipment to do that. Over here is what we call the secondary dispatch. It's a redundancy program, a system, for the 911.
So if something goes wrong with the main room, you can
if there's something that happens in the main comm center, they can come out to here. Or if it's really busy, you bring in another dispatcher and you can split up the duties. If something really major is going on, you can run somebody else running parallel, to what's going on in the dispatch center. Now the problem, the deficiency is this system is supposed to be the same isolation as the main system. There's got to be a door and a wall, segregation of the whole comm center from the rest of the operations. The personnel in the comm center need to be able to close the door and be isolated, not distracted, and everything, to deal with what they need to deal with.
And the entrance obviously goes.
Well, and the thing is, we were able to, through some community donations, we were able to accomplish at least this wall here. And if you want to take a look, we have that segregation here in the communications, and when you come inside, this is the comm center. And this is where our dispatcher works. This is the heartbeat of the community as far as all operations for any kind of public safety or public service happens right here. And if you look at that window, that's the other side. This is the inside looking at in the lobby that when we first came in. Now, a facility that is properly designed and in compliance would incorporate having this secondary redundancy system also in this area, but as you can see, there's just no room. It can't happen. So this is the best we could do, and we put a window in between the two, so at least they can communicate with each other. But the comm personnel can isolate themselves when it gets really busy.
And I imagine because you're wired through some sort of central and everything else is deficient, that even the ability, if there was a real problem with your fuse panels or something, you'd be suspect too, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know, because it's
Yep.
tough.
Yep.
It's tough.
All right, I'm going to close this door again because that's how it's supposed to be.
Yes.
All right, Jeff, if you follow me this way here, I want to show you the bathroom area for the dispatch. And I will apologize in advance because it is pretty gross.
You know, it is small because my wife says now with my bad knees that I walk like this, and I'll tell you what, I'm bouncing off walls. It's small.
Well, good thing the walls are there.
Yeah, it's small.
You'd be falling down.
Yeah.
All right. So this area here, this is a continuing problem we have.
There's the flies.
Yeah, I mean, there's the sewer flies. You can see all the casualties. Some that we've caught, some that we haven't. But I mean,
So they're here all the time?
All the time, all the time. And I'll bet you if I was to open this toilet up, yep, there it is. You see it fly into the rim? Watch, I'll flush it.
Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
Now they're biting flies.
Yep, they're sewer flies. They actually come from the sewer. And
That's ridiculous.
And I'm going to tell you an embarrassing story that I think it needs to be shared. Is we tell our personnel before they use the toilet,
Wow.
they need to either flush it or kick the bowl and get the flies out there because they will fly up into all over them, and it's disgusting.
It's amazing.
We've tried treatments, we've tried additives into the sewer lines. Nothing seems to be dealing with this.
That's off the charts.
Yeah. So that's.
I mean, I've seen less flies when they used to have, you know, outhouses.
Yeah. Well, and these aren't just house. These are sewer flies. These are coming from the sewer,
Wow.
and they have actually. We've talked to a lot of exterminators. We've learned a lot. They have fecal matter on them, and when they land on you, it causes a skin reaction. We have a couple of personnel in here that break out in rashes. Because of it, and it's a disgusting, horrible, embarrassing situation.
Our personnel have endured a lot.
Well,
This facility's tough. This is really a tough facility.
Yeah, I appreciate that. They have. Show you another mission critical area of the police station operations, which is behind the cells. And the reason why that's important is that's where all the plumbing is and all the utilities for the cell area, the holding cell. And if you have somebody that's uncooperative, somebody that's doesn't want to be there and wants to be disruptive, it's not uncommon that they'll try to flush the toilet, plug it up, flush it to try to flood the cell, or break the toilet. Break it right off the wall.
Kick it.
Yeah, kicking it. They cause destruction in there. You have to have the ability to remotely shut off the water supply, otherwise you're going to flood the station.
Yep.
It's a reality for all modern.
So that's when you had to open the doors on that big flood, right? To get the water out.
We've had squeegees running in this floor. But this hallway down here, take a look down there, that's the only access to get behind there.
Caleb, that's a long haul, isn't it, huh?
And it's tight, and it's filthy, and it's not in conformance.
And one thing too, I mean, all your electronics are back here, and there is no air exchange or anything else. It's,
that's true. I mean, this is where all the utilities come in.
Yeah, wow.
We've had, as recently as past few weeks, sewer pipes breaking. Actually, there's a cap. I had to personally work on the phone system, and there was a cap that started leaking while I was in there, and this is the only way out, so I had to time my escape by the drips.
So, John, some of your sewer access is coming in over the electronics?
Yes.
Holy mackerel, Andy.
Yep. And we've had pipes blow. The plumbing is very, very antiquated.
Yeah.
And it's really becoming a big problem.
So really that's the only, throughway, walkway you have for any utilities, so all your water utilities and everything else are right above the electronics?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. All right, Jeff, we're back in the hallway where we first started. There's a couple of rooms and areas I want to show you here. The first one is the sergeant's office. That's right over here. And that used to be way back in the day the chief's office, but we converted it to the
Was that
sergeant's.
Chief Mary's office?
It was Chief Mary's office.
I can remember,
Yep. And we converted it to the sergeant's office. There's three personnel that share space in here. And we'll go take a look at that right now. All right, Jeff. This area here is a pretty busy spot in the station. We have 3 sergeants that work. One there, one there.
Now, John,
one there.
obviously, people wouldn't be this close together in a facility that was large enough, right?
Oh, no, they'd have their own cubicles or work areas.
So, I mean, if they're having a phone call that's serious, or everyone's listening, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other thing, too, that's a very good point that I almost forgot. Any conversations that are happening here, the lobby is right there, and they have to, there's a noise machine that they have to turn on.
Wow. So no one can hear it.
Because you can hear conversations like there's not a wall.
And that wouldn't travel all over the town of Newbury.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so...
And it's also the same issue with upstairs, too.
Yep.
They can hear conversations
Yep.
and the activity that's happening upstairs and vice versa.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's a lot of privacy issues and confidentiality things that are going on here. But these guys here, I mean, they have a lot of responsibilities, a lot of very diverse assignments that bring in a lot of equipment and such that they have to maintain, and they're trying to do all that with this very, very small area, 3 desks, and not just the 3 desks, these are all the current files. So all the arrests, offenses, motor vehicle crashes, all that active stuff in the past 2 years, they're all filed here. So they're sharing their space also with the archive files.
And you've had water problems, and if you had real problems, you know, What's that?
That's an air exchange. That's a split unit air conditioner. There used to be a wall unit over there, but it was no good. They replaced it with the split unit. The problem with that is, as you can see, the black mold.
Yeah.
Literally, we cannot keep up with it.
Wow.
We have a guy coming in here to clean this regularly, at least monthly.
And your air quality is getting by?
We haven't tested it this month, so that's a question. It was borderline. The last time they checked it a few months ago, it was very close to being not acceptable.
Because you wouldn't be able to exchange all the air in the way this place sets up with all these cubicles and closed doors. And
well, they have an air exchange system that they put in as best as possible. It's helping, but it's not solving the problem. There's no air exchange happening here.
Yep.
They're depending on being able to do it through the door jams and that sort of a thing.
Yep.
But the mold issues, we just had the AC guy here to clean the fins, and he has a chemical, he was telling me this, that they spray into the fins, and it reacts to mold, because it was really smelling bad in here. And he has never seen such a reaction. The foam that came out of the fins and out of the vents was more than he's ever seen. He says there's a serious problem with this with the mold building up in these units. And these units are critical because, well, this is for the comfort of the sergeants.
But these units wouldn't be necessary in a facility that was adequate.
Right, if it had central air
Right,
conditioning, it was
right.
designed to be a police station, designed to be a municipal building, it would have central air conditioning, you wouldn't have these
And so we're
Band-Aids.
so far out of compliance that we have to do stuff like this to have it, just barely healthy for people to work in 3 in a room.
Yep, and I haven't even shown you the rest. So, actually, this is very interesting here. We have the mop and the water issues, because that unit is so infested with mold and keeps on plugging up so much and so fast that the condensation can't drain properly. So we have to keep cleaning it, but when we can't stay right on top of it, the condensation gets onto the floor, and if you looked around the corner where the lockers are, you can see the water build up, and apparently it was just mopped up. The sergeants, one of their tasks is to maintain that, to keep on mopping this up. So somebody's in trouble for not mopping this up.
Wow.
All right, Jeff, I've just led you into our IT area, which is off of the sergeant's area.
What's this?
That's the condensation from that AC unit that we have to mop up on a regular basis. And when this tour is over, I'll mop that up. But what we store in here this is all our IT. We have for cable, Comcast, this is their whole tower, and all the equipment they need to televise the meetings.
Yep.
We have our phone system.
So upstairs is downstairs. So Caleb's stuff from cable TV is down here too?
Yes, all his equipment up in that back room feeds into this.
Wow.
And sends it out. And the phone system's here, our network system's here, all our infrastructure for the IT, the server, and everything's in here. The sergeants also share this as their locker room. This is the sergeant's locker room, so their lockers are here.
So if we ever really had the kind of backup that you had in the Mother's Day storm, we would have significant losses, right?
Oh yeah, I mean we'd have to stay on. We had to stay on top of that. We had to put up
Because
sandbags.
everything's like
Yeah.
close to the floor. You can't get it up. There's no room because the ceiling's so low.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't put that unit up high enough because
Nope.
it's against the ceiling.
Exactly. Yeah, this is it. This is the bullet we're dodging on a regular
Hmm.
basis. And then this is more archive files that take up space in there, and that's more archive files. There's no records storage facility here
Yep.
whatsoever, like
Yep.
any modern facility would have. And these are mandated files we have to keep, and we can't find places for them. Some of our files, again, embarrassingly enough, are stored off-site at the town landfill in a storage container. But the good news is that we have a natural process for slowly shredding
Yep. Getting rid of stuff you
the
don't-
records, and the mice are doing that for us there. They're chewing them up, and and they get
If you don't need it, yeah, it's cool.
it's infested out there, and that's where our archived records are from from way back, and that's just completely unacceptable. And we need to have a proper record storage.
I mean, the conditions for our folks working here, not only because of air quality hits me first, sewer flies, space, I mean, my claustrophobia is right off the walls right now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, this is tight. This isn't adequate. I mean, I'm standing in water. This is tough. You guys have been more than we could ever ask for people to endure these conditions.
And it's interesting, you talk about standing in the water. You're standing in the water, not just standing in the water, you're standing in water in the IT room.
Yeah, it's great for electronics, right?
So, I mean, that's what we're dealing with here. Okay. All right, Jeff, I'm going to lead you out back to the area of the kitchenette, the squad room, and the locker area
Okay.
for our personnel. All right, this area right here, this is basically just a common area where we do our copies, photocopies, store supplies, and other such devices and things that the patrol needs on a regular basis. It's a common area that's easily accessible for them.
You guys have had to be creative to turn every nook and cranny in this place into space because you don't have any.
And actually, I think that's true, and I appreciate that. We really try. And I'm going to tell you a story at the end of this that might also illustrate that a little bit more about the efforts that we've gone through to try to make this work.
But it's hard too, John. I mean, if you really did have, say, a scuffle with someone, I mean, because things are in the way, it would be tough.
Yeah, it's dangerous for the officer and for the person in custody.
Trying to get someone in.
Yep. This area right here, actually, I'll tell you that interesting story now because this will illustrate it. When probably about 12 years ago, maybe a little bit less, when Chief Riley first took over.
Yep.
Right, one of our first things we decided to do was change the layout here to be more functional. What it used to be is there was no walls. You walk through this door and it was just one big room. And along the edges of the room where it was countertop, and underneath the countertop was storage.
Yep.
And there was 2 workstations for officers to sit and do their reports, but there was a big, huge table, conference table, in the middle of this room. And what was interesting and funny is when we did the Seabrook drills and we did any EOC operations, literally somebody had to climb up onto the conference table, pop a ceiling tile, all the phone wires that were needed fell into a mess on the middle of the conference table. All the storage cabinets that were on the perimeter of the room, you open them up, and that's where all the phones were. So you set all the phones up, you plug them all in. You had to go through this whole process to set up your EOC.
So at least you got that little room that's in back of the dispatch now. Does that function?
Oh, no, that's just a component of the EOC.
Oh.
That's just a component. No, the EOC, we'll walk over there in a minute.
Oh, okay.
The EOC is much bigger and more comprehensive.
Right.
But to facilitate that, you had to set it up on this conference table with the phones and all that. Because that particular room, when there was no walls here, that was the locker room for the guys. The kitchenette was over in one corner, so there was a kitchenette for the guys. It was the conference area for the guys. You would literally have, at any given time, somebody sitting having lunch at that conference table while somebody else is changing into the uniform in the locker in the same room. It was just a multifunction, multi-purpose room that was dysfunctional.
I mean, people that are watching have to really realize that There's dispatch for police and fire, there's emergency management dispatch, there's so many functions that go on in a police station with all the different people and all the different things that they do. And the space just can't facilitate those multi-functions.
Right.
Let alone, it's just incredibly, I've been standing in water, I've been looking at sewer flies, I mean, this is tough, this is tough.
Well, and to speak to your earlier point about the patience and the attitude of the personnel down here, when we decided we had to change things, everything you see here, the painted walls, the walls that were built, everything, that was done by our guys.
I can remember, you told me that.
Cleaned this up.
Yep, you told me that.
We built the walls, that whole mail room that we talked about.
Yep.
You know, all this new design was our guys coming in, cleaning this up, painting it, volunteering their own time out of pride for their own department. Say, you know, this is home. We'll do the best we can with it. And that was about 12 years ago now. There's just nothing more we can do. There's nothing more.
So if we move forward, you guys will certainly know what not to do.
Oh, yeah. It's been an education.
Yeah.
It's been an education. But anyway, this area right here, this is where we did those renovations. This turned into the kitchenette area. The guys didn't really have a place to sit down and have their meals, and we provided that for them. But the interesting part about it is you won't see, or very seldom will you see a day shift person sitting at this table and eating, or an early evening. And the overnights and maybe first thing in the morning you might. And the reason why is when town hall's active, you can see the dirt just falling into your food. You sit here and you see the guys, if you it's so sad, but you see the guys like huddled over, covering it over while they're eating, because if somebody walks across town hall, the dirt and filth just falls into their food here.
Yeah.
And you can't keep it clean. You just can't. So that's an unfortunate situation that they have to endure on a daily basis. That's why they like working the weekends. There's nobody upstairs. In the overnights, there's nobody upstairs.
You know, it is close proximity, because I can be in town hall under certain circumstances, and I can certainly hear things down here. So
Yep.
I mean, it's just,
Yep.
we're close.
It's just the walking, the
Yep.
noise and just the walking from one side of town hall to the other. You can see the dust raining down
Yep.
in the dirt. And it's just so unsanitary. But this is their kitchenette area. And this is what we turned into the squad room. Again, we built these walls, we changed things around. And this is what has now become the EOC, or the Emergency Operations Center. And it also doubles as the officers' workstations. They all have a cubicle that they can call their own, do their reports, do their paperwork, any of their administrative assignments they can do right there. What ends up happening is if there's a EOC, Emergency Operations Center activation, whether it's a Seabrook or something that happens in
Everyone
town,
else has to get out.
this
Sure.
this now becomes the EOC. And as you
Yep.
can see, if you look at each cubicle, there's two tags. There's one that says which officer is assigned
Yep,
here,
yep.
and then there's also, in this case, the radiological officer. That, this becomes assigned to somebody else, and a lot of these are civilian assignments too that are on our in our EOC operations. They'll come in, so we'll have civilians come in here, and they'll take up their posts. So, because we don't have a modern facility in an EOC, we are displacing our police operations to accommodate those.
Yep, I understand.
And what ends up happening also is, now if you can imagine in this space, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people in this room alone, and then not counting other support people or just people that are on duty in the facility. So
Yep.
it gets very, very crowded.
You know, and it's funny, John, this is the first room that actually looks like a room maybe should look, and it's just so overcrowded
Yeah.
that it's incredible. And Caleb, do me a favor. Can you turn and look at that window? That's the first time I've seen daylight since I came in here.
Yep, that's true. Good point.
So, I mean, this is an unbelievable situation for our guys. It's tough that the town, certainly the town is in dire straits at certain points, but we're certainly, because of Tracy's hard work, doing better, and everyone working hard. It's time to do something. It's time to do something. This is so inadequate. So inadequate.
The last area in here that I could show you is our locker rooms. And this was a huge, huge advancement for the guys. Again, they never had their own locker room. So it's a co-ed locker room, so we have the sign up there. So we do have some female employees that we have to make sure they lock the doors when they're in here. We don't want to have any embarrassing moments. but we were able to facilitate putting these rows of lockers in here, giving these guys some privacy, some space to get changed, get ready for duty, do whatever they need to do. And that was, again, part of that project that Chief Riley took on about 12 years ago. And then we have a full bathroom here. It's also it's storage, but there's a full shower, and that's where the.
I mean, people didn't know it then, but when Caleb even tried to move forward to get into the bathroom, he bumped right into me.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just no room.
Yeah, space is definitely a premium here. But this is maxed out. This is it. There's no room for anything else. In the whole facility, we're beyond maxed out.
John, thank you very much for allowing me to come in and see once again the conditions that you guys work under. I mean, I can remember when Roger was chief. I can remember Roger telling me that the police under Danny Offhand came in here in the 70s.
Yep.
I mean, so the police have been down here since the 70s, and the conditions have continued to deteriorate and continued to deteriorate. As the force got bigger, everything got more cramped, and you're downstairs. I saw daylight once.
Yeah, good point. Yep.
So it's tough. It's tough. It's time to do something different.
I appreciate you taking your time. I know you've been down here several times, helping us out, trying to get this done. So I hope it's helpful, and I hope it inspires questions. I hope people ask us questions. I hope we get a lot of inquiries.
I think we could have chatted a lot more. We could have made conversation to the fact that but you know what? We were factual. And I'll tell you what, that place speaks for itself. So
well, thank you very much.